Yeah, that's right.
410-481-1010. Or you can give us a call or text us at 443-660-7131. Today we are talking about the illustrious and infamous Princess Diana, the Princess of Wales, who was married to now or soon to be King Charles, and her estate. We have with us as a guest Mr. Attorney Nicholas McDaniels. Hello, Mr. McDaniels.
Hi, Ms. Ramona. I'm hoping you can hear me okay. I'm not able to join via video as well this week, but I appreciate you accommodating me calling in by phone. It is great to hear your voice and to be a part of this final episode for this year's Women's History Month. It's been a lot of very fun topics to talk about, and I'm excited to be here.
So let's get right into it. So we're talking about Princess Diana, who was formerly divorced from soon to be King Charles. She had an estate of over $35 million. I wish. And she had two descendants, two of her who she left the bulk of her estate to, both of her sons, William and Harry. However, in her will, she designated that her 17 God's children should receive, I believe it was about $50,000 a piece. And she also left some money to her butler. His name was Paul. I'm going to get it right. Sorry. His name was Paul. Let's just call him Paul. Okay. After her passing, the executives of her estate protested, went to probate, and successfully argued that the godchildren should not be receiving any sort of monetary distribution, and that they claimed that there was a letter of wishes that she had written, and in there, that's where it indicated that she wanted to give each of her godchildren, I believe it was $50,000 or $75,000. Her mother and her sister argued successfully in probate court that this was not in the will, and therefore it should not be honored. And what they should get would be trinkets and heirlooms. And that is what they won in probate court. And they ended up giving them, one person she got a half a teacup. Another one got a silver spoon. They didn't get anything that she had written subsequent to her will. They just got what one of them describes as a tacky memento. And so today we're talking about how can you designated some executors to your estate, and you indicated wishes, whether formally or informally, in writing. But the executives of your estate were able to go to probate and argue. And I'm trying to find the reason why they argued this. Argued that that this money should not be going to the godchildren, that the bulk of the estate should be going to her children, and that each one should just receive a collectible or a memento instead. And she was successful in arguing that, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of things that we need to look at here. One, we should say this is obviously happening in a country that is not our own, right? And so the system of laws are a little bit different, but in large part, the American legal system and our, especially our estates and trust system, is based on the system of English law. So even though we're in a different country, we're going to find quite a few similarities between what they have in Great Britain and what they have here as far as the estates and the probate process goes. One of the key pieces of this case is this kind of letter of wishes, I believe, is how it's described, and I usually refer to it as kind of a executor's or an administrator's memorandum, something like that, where the decedent, that is the person who has passed away, in their will is left kind of additional terms that aren't really necessarily included in the will, but they expect their administrator to carry out. The big part of that I always explain to my clients and is clearly written in most wills is that those things are not binding. And so if you trust your administrator to make distributions in a certain way, those clearly outline certain things in a memorandum, then that can be actualized in a practical way. But quite frankly, if you look to leave distributions to 17 godchildren, we're dealing with something much more than, hey, divide everything equally, but please make sure my son gets this watch and my daughter gets this brooch and those sorts of things. If you're dealing with such a massive distribution as this kind of letter of wishes was, you would want those distributions recorded as part of the will, and I think that's why these potential distributees, that's the godchildren, were not as successful in being able to get a massive share in these massive estates.
Okay, wait a minute, repeat that again. So the reason why they were unsuccessful is because the wishes were not done formally.
Yeah, exactly. And so the idea of this kind of letter of wishes is that there is some discretion that the personal representative, the administrator, the executor of the will has to utilize a little bit of wiggle room and make distributions specifically in accordance with somebody's actual wishes. And part of the reason we do that is because there's certain things that may change over time just slightly, and you don't want to have somebody rewrite a will. Sometimes it's nice. There can also be just another specific letter of guidance. But in a case like this, we're dealing with large sums of money, and not having those distributions as an actual forcible and binding part of the will is a big deal.
Right. So the idea that you're sitting at your vanity at midnight one night and you decide to pull out a piece of letterhead, because you're Princess Diana, you have your own letterhead, and and start handwriting, or maybe you pull up your laptop and say, hey, when I pass away, this is what I would like to see in addition to my will. Because it wasn't done in front of a witness, right? Because it wasn't turned into the attorney for the trust, they actually found the letter like 6 months after she passed in her belongings.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of problems with this particular case, right? There's this kind of, it was challenging to prove the authenticity of the letter.
Right.
It's very curious, given her stature and her connections, that there was such a dramatic distribution that would have been different than how most royalty distributes their assets, that would not have been done in a more formal way. So there's just a lot of reasons that it smells funny, and people would want to investigate further. And
Right, so we talked about last week how it's important, because last week, I guess, her dad, all his life, said he wanted to be cremated, all his life. But somewhere near the end, before he passed, he had taken his daughter out on a vacation, and he sat her down and he talked to her and said, now, of course, she didn't know at the time that he had canceled his life insurance. And one of the reasons why he canceled it is because he felt like he was military and he had earned the right to be buried by the VA, and the VA should foot the cost and bury him in a VA grave. And from that respect, the cost would be pretty much nothing if, in fact, they processed it through the VA, right? And the witness was, he had also discussed it with her godmother and a deaconess at the church, or his deacon and deaconess at the church. He had verbally made his wishes known to 3 other people, this other than his daughter, even though he had never told his son. And his son was trying to stay to the letter of the will, even though there were 4 different versions of the will. And the latest one they found in a shelf in his house. It wasn't the one he was carrying around in his briefcase. And yes, he did carry around his briefcase. They still don't know why he canceled the life insurance. Maybe it was a financial thing, because he was being sued, and life insurance can be deemed an asset. And he was trying to minimize his net worth. He had actually proceeded with the bankruptcy in an attempt to shield his net worth from the lawsuit that was coming at him, which ultimately, upon his death, ended up being dropped. But what got the brother to go along with the idea of letting the VA bury him was the fact that the father had not just told the daughter, but he had told officials at the church where he wanted his funeral to be. He had actually come in and had a conversation with this deacon and deaconess. Why he didn't formalize it, I don't know. Maybe there was too much going on with the lawsuit and the bankruptcy that was just complicating things. But how easy is the process? And that's the thing. She made a will earlier, that was part of her process of marrying, soon to be King Charles, was to create a will and a plan for the dissolution of whatever she accumulated during her life. And this was her unofficial way of, quote unquote, possibly updating her will. But how easy is it to officially update a will that you already have in place?
I think very easy, or much easier than people realize. If you've already got a will in place, you're making, I don't want to say minor changes, but you're not doing a complete renovation of your will, so to speak, right? We're talking about, hey, you're not redoing the whole first floor, you're just maybe redoing the kitchen, right? You do what's called a codicil. Some people say codicil, it depends on where you learned the word, but CODICIL is how it's spelled, and it's just kind of an addendum.
Spell it again, CO.
CO, look, and you're making me spell stuff on air, so watch me get it wrong. But let's see, it's CODICIL. And I've always said codicil, and that's how I was taught. Some people say codicil. Essentially, that's an addendum.
Okay.
Your will would say things like, it would say something like, Ramona Jones McClain hereby strikes sections 7, 12, and 13 of her will dated this date and replaces that with blank. and then you fill in kind of what you're replacing it with or how you're changing it. And that's not a difficult process at all. I mean, I've had clients that have done that. Oftentimes, particularly for married couples, you leave everything to your spouse. But after the death of a spouse, those things change dramatically sometimes, and don't just follow a normal kind of logical line of succession. And I've had people kind of make drastic changes in that way, but I've also had people that have then gotten remarried and have decided to change distributions. And I've had a client in the past that quite literally just changed her name and wanted the new name to be reflected in the will, and that was it. And so
the name change is the worst. I think that you guys should change your name. You know.
Yeah. Look, I'm not against it. It doesn't bother me either way.
Well, that's because you never had to go through the process of the name change thing. It is a horrendous hassle. It is, especially with MVA. It's like the worst. They couldn't take my marriage certificate. I had to go get the official one with the stamp on it, and then I had to give it to them. So I had to actually give them the actual certificate.
It is a very old tradition kind of in how things are done, and I do think in large part kind of moving beyond that, and many people are not doing that upon marriage and stuff. But it's a classical tradition. I agree. As a male who was married, I didn't have to deal with any of that. So
yes.
my beloved wife certainly did. She certainly did.
Okay, and so how frequently do you see, because this was a situation, and if we talk about Lisa Marie Presley that we were talking about a few weeks ago, she's in a situation now where her mother is protesting the will or the changes that were made at the end, where Princess Di attempted to make changes, and some would say technically the written letter with her, because it had her, they have a crest. It had her crest on it. When the royal family writes correspondence, they put their crest, their stamp, whatever it's called, on it. So it was the official crest that was put on the letter, but the court did not honor it because it was not done in front of a trust officer or an attorney to her estate. And to me, Nick, I'm just going to send you an email and say, this is what I want to change.
And happy to bring.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, it is not that. It is not as difficult as people may be afraid that it is. I mean, the whole process from start to finish is not as daunting, and you and I have talked about that on air many times. To get a will drawn up, as long as you're working with somebody who you trust and is honest, I'd like to say 10 out of 10, but I'm not going to give us that. But I'd say 9.5 out of 10 attorneys you call up to draft these documents are going to be honest, are going to charge you a fair price for the work, and are going to make sure that your wishes are really being documented in an appropriate way. And then once you've developed that relationship on the front end, making the changes should be fairly easy. I mean, I can tell you only once have I ever done a codicil, the amendment. Only once have I ever done one of those for somebody who wasn't my client originally. So when somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want to make these changes, typically I was the one that wrote the original will. So it's very easy for me in that relationship to help explain understand how those changes would affect what they've done, because just like being a doctor or something like that, I know your history at this point.
Right.
I know where we started. I can ask the right questions, and then having that kind of long-standing relationship with the trust is probably the biggest.
Right. So I've asked this before. What are the signs when you're dealing with an attorney that is somebody that you should just run away from?
That's a great question.
Because you can say if it's somebody you trust, but the thing is, discernment on trust is objective or subjective. You don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
If you feel like you are being sold a product rather than being sold a service, you should walk away. Let me explain kind of what I mean by that. The product, and this is true of your industry too, Ms. Ramona. There are insurance agents and brokers who sell policies as a product, and then there are those like you who sell them as a service, right? That it is a total package that is there, that you are there to support them, et cetera, right?
Right.
And attorneys are the same way. And if that initial conversation is kind of a bang, 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 we can do A, B, and C. We will set you up with this document and that document and this document, and then you'll be good to go and everything will be taken care of. That should give you a little pause versus if you talk to an attorney and the attorney says, well, hey, why don't you tell me what your goals are? Tell me about your family. Tell me about the legacy you want to leave. Somebody who really wants to get to know you and help you achieve your goals. So if you feel like you're in a sales meeting where somebody's just, selling you a set of kitchen knives, you should be a little bit worried that what they're selling you is just the same thing they sell to everybody else.
Right.
Versus if you talk to that attorney and they really seem to be trying to get to know you as a person, but trying to understand your situation, that's what you need to look for. I tend to, and this is because I'm a small practice attorney. I do think that small practice attorneys oftentimes do provide. It's not that we're better lawyers or anything like that, but do provide more personalized service. I mean, if you can find somebody who's local to you or somebody who you know that or is recommended to you by somebody else, that's better than just kind of taking a blank stab on Google. I was about to say the yellow pages, but I don't think anybody does that anymore. But taking just a blank stab on Google or on the internet. And I would say just the third thing is word of mouth. Ask your friends, ask your loved ones, ask your fellow parishioners and congregates at your church. I mean, who have you talked to? Who do you trust? Do you like them? Do you wish you were with somebody else, etc.? And it's you should not look at it any different than you would look at hiring a doctor or a dentist or an accountant or something like that.
Right. Absolutely. I think that sometimes my community gets so caught up into thinking that people are getting into your business. I tell my customers, I need to get into your business to best determine the best way to help you. There's no shame, there's no judgment. You could have I talked to a client today who is literally professionally having the worst year of his life, to the point where he may have to dissolve his current business and reestablish it under another name. And I've been talking to this guy for 2.5 months, and he's just finally today really telling me what's going on, which gave me a really good picture on how to best design what we do and how we move forward with his insurance. And you would think that it's not a big deal. I just want to get insurance. That's not how it works, because any product that you are interested in getting has to go before an underwriter. And the underwriter has to make a determine based on the information you present to him, whether or not you are a viable risk. R-I-S-K, risk, because that's what insurance is all about, assessing risk. And they determine what kind of risk you are based on the story I tell them, based on the narrative that I provide to them about who you are, what you are trying to accomplish, and what you are attempting to do in the future. And usually that narrative is interpreted based on my reputation and my relationship with him. So it behooves you up front to tell me the truth, because I can best to determine what information is necessary to go to the underwriter and what information is not, because they've seen everything. So you can't really think you can outsmart or outwit or out describe a situation where you're not even sure. You don't really know what the underwriter is looking for. And they ask questions based on the fact, do you have current coverage? Did you have a claim? Are you trying to hide something? Is there somebody else in the background that we don't really want to be a part of? And it's important that you buy your insurance based on your relationship, not price. Even though I know right now it's all about how much money we can save, because the market has gone haywire. Just absolutely haywire. But at the end of the day, would you rather be with an insurance agent or an attorney that's going to say, okay, I know this costs a lot right here, let's find you somewhere else to go? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the one thing I would say to that, and I think, you're bringing up a great point as it comes to cost, is I heard somebody tell me one time, they asked me, which side of the menu are you ordering off of? And I said, what do you mean by that? And they said, well, are you ordering off of the item or off of the price number? Are you ordering what you want to eat or what you need in your belly? Are you ordering based off of your wallet? And I'm not saying that price doesn't matter, because it certainly matters to me. And Lord knows I cut back on eggs a month ago because because the egg prices went crazy and just like everybody else. But and the determining factor should be, are your needs being met? And whatever it takes to afford to have those needs being met is what you need to ascertain. It's not trying to just find the cheapest perceived solution to meeting your needs, because chances are it won't exactly do that.
Absolutely.
And so we got to make sure we're ordering off the right side of the menu. I love that phrase once I first heard it, and it has really stuck with me. So.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break.
Hopefully, Ms. Ramona, you're prime rib in this discussion. Obviously, you're prime rib. So
yeah. Okay, I'll take that. But look, we're gonna take a station break to for station identification, and when we come back, I'm gonna tell you my solution to the egg issue.
All right.
WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore, celebrating Radio 1's 42nd anniversary.
Our Radio 1 family, our employees, their family members, our listeners, our viewers, our extended family.
And serving the African American community for over 42 years.
The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers.
No caller. I just said we need to go to break.
Would you travel changing?
But we good.
Talking with Farmers Insurance agent Ramona Jones McClain can help you assess whether you're ready for the journey ahead. Call Farmers agent Ramona Jones McClain today at 443-660-7131. That's Ramona Jones McClain at 443-660-7131.
We are farmers. Bum, ba, dum, bum, 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 bum. Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Hello, DMV. This is Ramona Jones McClain, your insurance guru. I am a farmer's agent located at 11707 Ricestown Road in Ricestown, Maryland. Here, you can call me at 443-660-7131 or listen to my show every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. on WOLB.
All right.
You're back live in 3, 2, 1, whenever you're ready.
All right, DMV. This is Ramona Jones McClain, and here we are today wrapping up Women's History Month with infamous women in history and the dissolution of their estate. We have attorney Nick McDaniels with us. Can you give us your contact information, Nick?
Yes, absolutely. Nicholas McDaniels, you can reach me via phone at the office at 301-818-0405. That's 301-818-0405. You can also call me on my cell. You know that I provide this only to your listeners, Miss Ramona, but you can call my cell phone or text this number. It's 443-340-7323, or look us up on the internet. It's lewismcdaniels.com, LewisMcDaniels.com, and we'd be happy to help you with any of your needs, whether that be estate planning or a civil lawsuit, your real estate needs. And I hate to say this, Miss Ramona, because sometimes we're on opposite sides of this coin, but we also help service car accidents and personal injury cases as well.
But you know what? Don't, because the reason why when you call into my office and you have a claim, I send you directly to claims. I don't take a claim or manage claims because I'm going to help the policyholder.
And that's what I love about you, and why I love working so closely with you, and why I'm proud to say that I am a client and customer and policyholder of yours. So I have a policy with you because of that, and I think just like not everybody in my field is excellent, certainly not everybody in your field is either. But you and I both believe this is a service-oriented job, and we are in service to the people we work for. So
I tell clients, because they call me frequently after someone is putting a claim, and I was like, look, I really don't want to get involved. Because if you tell me something and I feel like it's wrong or I feel like it's an injustice, my next phone call is to the policyholder, and I'm literally going to say, hey, you need to say this, 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 and this, and this is what they're holding against you, and this is what you need to do. I'm just going to do it. So in order for me to stay impartial, I'll see the email when you send it that there's a claim. I'm not gonna lie.
I certainly get it.
Involved. Yeah.
And look, I've dealt with plenty of agents and adjusters that operate like you, but more often than not, it's a little bit of a different story. And that's all to say, hey, if any of your listeners need help with any personal injury or car accident claims, we're happy to help with those as well. So.
Yes. And especially if you're in a situation where you're having difficulty managing just your day-to-day, I took care of my own car accident. I just want to say that. I got very frustrated with my attorney and I fired him because he just did all of the opposite things. He treated me, as we were talking about earlier, like I was a product. And I came in, I said, this is exactly what I want to do. This is what the documentation I'm going to provide in order to do it. And I'm coming to you because I had a concussion and I do not want to jeopardize my case in any way because I can't focus sometimes. This was over 3 years ago. And He did the exact opposite of what I asked him to do because he treated me like every other case he was used to treating. And ultimately, I did not. I just left him, and everything he told me that I couldn't use, I used it, and got 3 times what he claimed he could get from me. Actually, it was more than 3 times, 7 times more. Yeah, but that's me.
Well, I believe I was going to say you know how the system and the machine works.
Yes,
and
I'm
so
a very unique situation.
Yeah, but if you have somebody on your side, and this is what I tell people, is I have never handled a personal injury or car accident case where I haven't more than paid for myself, versus what, I mean, literally cases where the insurance companies offered my client. I've had one where they offered my client $500. Mm-hmm. And I settled it for $100,000. Right. I mean, I've never had a case where I haven't paid for myself. However, you can handle things on your own, especially if you have a good insurance agent on your side, right? Like you, right? If you, if I have my auto insurance through you. I'm injured by somebody else, even with dealing with the other insurance agency. Let's say it's State Farm and not Farmers, right?
Well,
I'm going to call my agent.
We have done that.
Yep. And say, hey, what do I do here? And if you are my auto insurance carrier, I trust you because you build those relationships, and I trust you know how this works. Every insurance company is a little bit different, but the process is still the same. Like you said, right. It's all about risk and all about taking in as much money and paying out as little as possible. And if you know how to work that, you can work that to your advantage. And this is not an ambulance chasing point of view. Go ahead and get your money. Get your money. You've been injured. You have been injured, and it has affected your life in ways that money cannot fix. Right. And you certainly deserve that. So talk to people you trust. Talk to your insurance agent. Talk to your attorney. Talk to your doctors. Talk to your chiropractors. Talk to everybody. Yeah. They can provide good advice based on their experience in these situations. So, look, I know I kind of got us off the rails there on our estate planning conversation a little bit, but it surely is, and you're the expert. So.
But it's good to know people that when something goes wrong, you can call. It's important because then you know what to do and what decisions to make. And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, being able to make an informed decision on how things should go that help build your financial environment. And right now, I think it's extremely important. We've lost so many people over the last couple of years who weren't prepared because we think we're going to live forever. My father certainly does. And you know what? He probably will outlive all of us.
I was gonna say I've met him. He may actually live forever, so he may be the one that figures it out. But you're making a great point.
And it doesn't have to be stressful. It should be an opportunity. It's not like we don't know it's coming. We just don't know when. And so it should be and I learned this from when I lost my son. It's been 2015, almost 7 years now. I learned this when I had to plan, his funeral and his situation. It should not be a chaotic thing. It is the end of someone's life. It should be a celebration, and you should have the tools in place in order for that to happen. And one of the things is not having fighting among your relatives, among your friends, among those people that you love. If there is something that you want your family to have, then you can actually do it. You can put it in writing and set it up before you die or afterwards. You should fund your estate. And that's the biggest issue. There's not enough money to get the things done that are required to be done. You need to fund your estate. I had a conversation with the young lady this past week who is in a situation now where over the last 12 months, her husband had a heart attack. They've got life insurance, it's temporary insurance, but she feels like she should have double the amount that she currently has because they have two small children. And she wants to make sure that her children can maintain their lifestyle if her husband, leaves to serve. And it's something you have to think about. You have to make life insurance a priority. You just do. And I know you want to eat, and I know you want to get in your car and put gas in it, and the eggs thing. So I decided if eggs go up one more time, I'm just going to build me a chicken coop in the backyard, Nick.
Hey, look, I love it. And, you know me, I've raised chickens for many years. So when that time comes, you let me know. I'll come and help you tend to your flock. How's that sound?
Yeah. I'm just saying, I got a big enough backyard. I live out in the country. Nobody gonna be upset if I get 3 or 4 chickens.
I was gonna say, now you'd be right at home out where you are, so yeah. Nobody'd even think twice about that.
No, but in these times we have to make adjustments and adapt, and determining. And it only takes a little bit effort. Just like you schedule to go to the dentist, schedule to set up your estate. Make an appointment with yourself, with someone you trust, an attorney like Nick McDaniels, and just do it. Just like you save to go on that cruise that you want to go on, save to set up your estate. It's just, I don't know what else to say.
No, I mean, it seems very, I think it's scary to people for a couple of reasons, right? One, talking about death and dying, and you and I have talked about this many times, but talking about death and dying is difficult. Talking about your personal finances and your personal business and your family issues is difficult. This conversation related to life insurance and estate planning, which you and I both view need to happen together. Everybody needs to work together, and you need to have a team of people to make sure that everything is set up the correct way. That rolls all those difficult conversations into one thing, into one big, really difficult conversation.
Yeah.
And it's a big hurdle for people to get over. I think there's plenty of excuses, right? Whether it's the cost or the time or just the uncomfortability of having those conversations. But I like to tell people, look, there may be 1,000,001 reasons why you don't want to do it, but there's 1,000,002 reasons why you should. So we should just kind of take that leap, call somebody you trust. If you're worried about how much it costs to have life insurance, stop worrying and find out. Right. If you're worried about how much it costs to set up a will or a trust or a full estate plan, stop worrying about it and find out, and figure out, okay, well, look, maybe that is more than I can afford right now, but I do think that it's important. So how do I reorganize things so I can afford that? And you can find good people. I mean, look, I do like to think that you and I are some of the best in our fields, but there are plenty of people that do the same work that we do that are excellent as well, that any of your listeners could find and would be able to help them. And you would feel just as comfortable. And that's very important. So, like we always do, I want to encourage people to take that leap, to make that phone call, to send that email, whatever it is, to make sure that you have yourself taken care of, and more importantly, you have those that are going to be here after you taken care of.
Yes. And frankly, if you don't put in writing the things that you expect or want or wish, like the letter of wishes, then people are just going to do whatever. And the whatever may be on such a level of disrespect, it makes you roll over in your grave. That is
yeah, no doubt. And you know, it whether you're rolling over in your grave or not, I can promise you that if there's chaos happening, there are going to be people that you love and care about right now who are not going to be loved and cared for because of that chaos. And you owe it to them, and we owe it to our parents, we owe it to our brothers and sisters, we owe it to our children, we owe it to our friends and colleagues and everybody who loves us and cares for us, to make sure that in our wake is not just chaos, but right. Actually there's some peace. And I think you said it best, and time for celebration, and not just complete chaos where people are left picking up the pieces, but rather where people are celebrating, and each has a little piece to take home with them.
Right, absolutely. You know, when my son passed away, he had, I don't know, 20, 30 Transformers, those little things you put together, those little Autobot things. And in fact, the week before he passed, we had taken him to Toys R Us. That's when there was a Toys R Us. And spent $40, my husband did, on getting him one. And he sat down on the floor for 2.5 hours and put that thing together. And when he passed, we ended up opening up the container and giving those little Transformer toys away to all of the kids and his cousins. Not that he expressed that that's what he wanted, but we knew that he valued them, and he valued his friends and his family, and them just getting a little piece of him to remember him by. And that was his biggest thing. He said nobody was going to remember me. Well, I talk about him all the time. We all remember you. But to formally put something in place for you to leave an indelible mark on the environment that you were a part of, you know, that requires some planning and to be done right, and to be done absolutely right. Yeah.
I'm right there with you. You and I, as usual, are in lockstep in that regard.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much, Nick, for being on this week. I know that you have sacrificed in the middle of your own family situation to just call in and be with us. We really appreciate it. Can you give your information out one more time before you go?
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you so much for having me again and for allowing me to participate via phone. You know, it's been, I have some personal issues of my own going on right now that I'm dealing with, but I'm glad that we were still able to have this time together. Again, my name is Nick McDaniels. I'm an attorney. My law firm is called Lewis McDaniels. That's LEWISMCDANIELF. If you put a .com at the end of that, you can go to our website. Send me an email at Nick, N-I-C-K, at lewismcdaniels.com, or give us a call at the office, 301-818-0405. If you want to get your estate plan taken care of or have any other legal needs, we'd be happy to help you. And goodness gracious, you certainly do have insurance needs, whether you know it or not. Please, please talk to my friend, the insurance guru, Ramona Jones McClain. She is I'm a policy holder, and I'm very satisfied.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful afternoon. And all right, DMV, I just want to thank you guys for listening today, to honoring us during our honoring of Women's History Month and our celebration of famous women in history. and talking about the impact that they had, as well as how they dissolved their estate and their situation, and how that impacts you and your life and the decisions that you should make going forward. Next month, we are going to be talking about April showers bring flowers. Next week, we're going to be talking about flood insurance. As the spring rains begin, we had rain all last week. As the spring rains begin, we're going to be talking about flood insurance. Those who need it, everybody needs it, especially those who don't think they need it. It's less expensive for you, which is why you should get it, because every zone can be a flood zone. We're going to be talking about that next week, and I believe we're going to have a flood adjuster and or a flood instructor on the air with us to talk about the things. Next month is all about water. The week after that, we're going to be doing backup sewer and drainage coverage, why it's important, why you should not get a property policy in this area that does not have backup sewer and drainage. What is a backup sewage and drainage claim, and what language you should use when you are filing your claim so that they don't deny you outright because of what you said or what they will see when they come out to the location. Very important. Then we're going to talk about other water claims. And at the end of April, we're going to have a visit from hopefully our favorite landscaper to talk about what you should be doing on your grounds to make water flow out instead of in toward the house and keeping water from pooling and damaging your property. Going to be an exciting month next month, all about water, because April showers are here. Springtime is officially here. And we just want to prepare you and put the things in place for you. Make sure you understand the coverages on your policy. And as my favorite call-in person says, Brother Carlos, identify those exclusions and those things you should look out for that will keep your policy from paying out the way it should pay out. And this is very important because in some of these new policies that are coming out today, they're making things that used to be standard on a policy optional. And if you do not choose the option, it will not be included, especially for my commercial clients. You want to make sure that what you think is on the policy is on the policy, and we're going to try to help you identify that and try to help you see what is necessary for you to have a good insurance relationship. And that's so important because you purchase your policy so that when stuff happens, you'll be able to be restored to where you were. Policies, honestly, are specifically designed to create gaps so that those things that are high risk, and we talked about risk earlier, are eliminated from coverage, especially if they know that you and your situation, whether it's where you live, the type of house you have, the situation that you're in, the type of property you have, there's a likelihood that a claim will occur. So we're going to talk about all of that next month. I'm so excited. I want to thank Attorney Nick McDaniels for being with us, Attorney Derek Thomas last week. I hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions, any comments, anything you need to know, we've been getting a lot of calls after the show at the office. You can do that. You can call us at 443-660-7131. That's 443-660-7131. You can re-listen to this show on Facebook. That's Ramona Jones McClain, Farmers Agent, on Facebook.com. You can also catch it on Instagram and our podcast, The Real Insurance Guru, on Podbean. We're also on Google. We are on Amazon Podcast, or you can go to our website at insurancegurumd.com. There's a link to all our past shows, and we're going to start uploading previous shows from previous years, those that were a hot topic that you may want to re-listen to. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, please send us a text at the office number 660-7131. Everyone, DMV, this is from DC, Maryland, and Virginia, of which we are licensed in and can write insurance in every last one of them. My name is the Insurance Guru, and we are out.